Hi, this is Jordan. This month's XDA Developer TV is brought to you by the Samsung Smart App Challenge 2012. Enter for your chance to win your piece of over $4 million in cash prizes by clicking the banner at the top of xdadevelopers.com or by visiting developer.samsung.com. It's Monday, July 30th, 2012, and let's have a look at the stories that happened this weekend over at the xdadevelopers.com website. First and foremost, let's talk about the big stories related to releases and updates and everything for official and unofficial versions of Jelly Bean on different devices, because that seems to be a recurring theme at this point. It's new hotness, it's still the big thing. The HTC Evo 4G, the AT&T Galaxy Note, and the AT&T Galaxy S2 Skyrocket all got unofficial AOKP Jelly Bean ports this week. The HTC One S and the Sony Xperia X10 Mini and the X8 all got unofficial CyanogenMod 10 ports. And all of those things I've just mentioned are thanks in large part to about a dozen people, and rather than wasting your time, if you would like to see the names of all those people, head on over to the XDA site to the links that I'll be having in the video description. And hitting on our next big usual story, the Samsung Galaxy S3. If you have the device and you've done all that you care to do with it so far, there's one thing you may have missed. The Galaxy S3, as with most modern Android type devices, and actually most modern devices in general, has these service menus, has different secret codes that you can enter to get into different modes, different menus, different whatever else you want to do. One example is provided in the post on the portal, and it's about this long. It contains a lot of different stars and pounds and numbers and such, and once you input all of that, you get into the service menu. I will say I've definitely seen easier ways to get into service menus than that. Printers, for example, a lot of times you hold a key combination, turn it on, and it just lets you into the diagnostics or the service menu. For phones, I would assume it has to be significantly more difficult because you're going to be using that dialer for everyday purposes for most people. Anyway, there are definitely some cool things in there and some things that might be interesting for those of you who are interested in doing any sort of development, so you may want to take a look in that thread. One of the things that has been found to be a problem with a lot of newer cell phones is still the camera. Now, I have mentioned before, there are some apps out there that will help improve the video bitrate and improve the JPEG quality within reason. At the end of the day, you are still limited by the sensor that's inside of the device and the lens that's on the device. However, another app has been developed by XDA senior member ZeroProbe, which essentially raises the bitrate of the video while you're recording, and it gives you the option of using the volume key as a shutter button. In case I forgot to mention, this is only designed for the HTC One S, and that volume up shutter button is only usable while you're inside of the camera app. But it gives you the option to do video at 20 megabits a second and 40 megabits per second, as well as the traditional stock, which is about 12 to 13 megabits per second. Again, this is not going to make the sensor any higher quality, but it does allow you to get technically higher quality video out of it, so you might see a bit of an improvement. I looked at some of the sample images that were brought out of it, and they did look slightly different, but not immensely different. One way or another, it is definitely worth a shot. I made a pun, I didn't even intend to. Moving in a little bit of a different direction, a lot of times users have problems with newer devices still of not having enough storage space built into the device. In fact, I've got a friend who bought a device very recently, I think it was actually a Galaxy S2, and it does not have that much storage built in because he's on T-Mobile and they gave him a few gigabytes, I think. There's not a whole lot of space in it, one way or another. Well, now thanks to XDA senior member Chronic Corey, that may not be much of an issue anymore. He's written a series of scripts you can flash to your device that will essentially switch around where your data is, where your apps directory specifically is, but also where your data partition goes. So instead of having the data apps partition be on the internal device, you can actually have it point to the SD card. So if you have an SD card that's up to 32 gigs in size, you can swap it around and have that be the usable space. Why is this beneficial? Well, because there are still internal apps that can get relatively large that can't be moved to the external device. Now, why is this a problem? Potentially because external devices can be significantly slower than the built-in storage. So one way or another, if you do have a device with not a whole lot of space on it, you may want to take a look at this set of scripts and maybe try one out on your device. Personally, I'm a Galaxy Nexus user at this point, so it kind of really doesn't affect me in any way. And the last thing to mention, since we're going to keep this video a little short because it is just a weekend recap, Saturday, Erica, our newest XDA TV producer, put out a video talking about the different power levels within a device and the different states of dormancy in terms of the 3G connectivity. I highly recommend taking a look at this video, especially if you're using a 3G device, just to sort of figure out what your device is doing and maybe see what's causing all the power drain, if anything. That and all of the other things I talked about will be linked to down in the video description, and all the stories I didn't have any time to talk about you can always find over on the xdadevelopers.com website. As always, do make sure to hit the like button down below if you like this video, and hit subscribe up above if you want to be notified when we put out new content. But that is all from me for today, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on Friday.